My name is James Speer. I'm a systems consultant at Valuize, and welcome back to Valuize Your Gainsight Experience, a video series where we take a deep dive into Gainsight's features and functionalities to help you successfully adopt, implement, and maximize your Gainsight investment. Today's video is part 3 of a 3-part series where we will be checking out the product of our setup from the previous video, as well as some reporting capabilities we achieved. Adoption of automated CTAs will ensure your CSMs work on value-driving activities, while the linked objects and lookups associated to the CTA will provide valuable insights through reporting. Welcome to the third video in our 3-part series. We're going to look at the fruits of our labor from the rules that we put together for the automated call to action. And the first thing we're going to do is run our rule for October 28th, 2023. And that is 330 days from this service start date. What that's going to do is progress our annual count by 1 and also create our annual review. And that way we can kind of see what that looks like on the other end. And while that's running, we'll go ahead and run through the calls to action that we've already generated, as well as look at our report that we've built. So in the cockpit here, we have several calls to action, and all of these have been generated by the rule set, and they're generated automatically if you schedule it. So we have our services onboarding, and inside of our actual call to action, you can see that we have our comments here, and it shows that company name that's been brought in dynamically. We have our professional services record. So this is that linked object, which shows the engagement here. And again, just a note that this can be edited and changed, and we don't necessarily want the CSMs doing that, but there's no way to necessarily deny access to it. And we have this extra tab here called professional services, which is our linked object. And inside of our linked object, we have a default group, and these are fields that we've brought in from our professional services object. And we could bring in any data that we would like to have here. So if you had key contacts or any offerings that the customer needs access to, and any additional information that we want our CSM to see, we can put in here. And for these fields, they're currently editable, but we can turn off the editability and just make it so that it's a visual only. But if you had like a contact that you wanted to add to the actual custom object, you could make an editable field and have that available for your CSM to do. So let's take a look at our reports now. So this is a report that is built off of the CS task object. And what we can see with the CS task object is that it is linked to the CTA object. And because it's linked to the CTA object, we also now have a link to our professional services. So we now have access to all of the data that we have stored in our professional services custom object, as well as all of our CTA data, all of our company data, and all of our task data. And we've built a simple stacked bar graph here, and we can see each of the CTAs created for a certain engagement. So we have our professional services onboarding, we have our starting January professional services, we have our March services, and then we have our quarterly business review. And we are seeing open tasks. So the way that I have this set up is that we're only looking at tasks that are currently available, but we have the ability to jump directly to the company and directly to the CTA that's going on. So this would be something that your CSM could use to keep track of different tasks across different engagements for different companies. Your managers could have an idea of how many tasks open or what CTAs are still open for different CSMs. And then leadership could have a holistic view of what's going on in the full book of business. And let's take a look here. What we can do is go ahead and let's close the Tetra Tech. quarterly business review. So if we go ahead and just close this CTA, we can run this report again. And we can see that it's gone, and that we also now have, there it is. Yeah, so we have our annual review here that we ran through the rule. So we have all of these available. We can look at our data management, reload this as well. And there we go. So the annual count has gone up by 1. And if we run this rule one more time, we can catch next year's QBR. We're going to run this for March 1st of 2024. This runs fairly quickly. Get that going right now. Just make sure both of our quarterly business reviews are closed out. Since the QBR is going to have the same name and we're using the name of the CTA in the identifiers, if this CTA was still open, we would not see any future quarterly business reviews showing up, since that's what it's using as the way to tell whether or not it needs to make that CTA. But since quarterly business reviews are happening 90 days apart, they shouldn't be open at the same time in any case. Okay, and as you can see, we have created that quarterly business review, and this QBR is going to be produced for next year. So even though we have our created date here showing something incorrect as well as the due date, because these are based off of when this is actually produced as opposed to what date it was designed to be sent for. This is being run in the future, 3/1/2024, and we created our QBR based off of our data here. So the annual count is going to go ahead and make sure that this engagement continues producing CTAs automatically. And we can see that it pops up in the report now. So we have this additional QBR right here. And as we close out CTAs, they will disappear off of the report because we only want to see open CTAs. But this is a pretty powerful way for us to do all kinds of reporting. And since we're doing it through CS Task, we have a lot of options. Hopefully this was helpful for everybody. And thank you very much for tuning in. Gainsight's call to action feature is highly valuable if used thoughtfully in conjunction with linked objects and lookups. Calls to action can be leveraged by your CSMs to work on value-driving activities and by your admins to build informative, actionable reports. If you have any questions about this feature or want to learn more, check out the resources section at the Valuize website or contact our team of customer lifecycle and Gainsight experts. Keep an eye out for our next video.